What's
I got
that,
a
Paul
new
Myers?
got a
Also,
new head razor in for my bald head. We're gonna give her a go because I carved my
oh,
head with a razor a couple days ago.
oh,
Yeah,
nice.
that looks like it'll take care of it in no time. That's
We'll
like
see.
the no more like little tiny lawnmower. We've got the big one, the zero turn.
Well, it's a big head, dude. That's all I can tell you.
Is that the same
Yeah.
thing that Doug's using? Doug, is that what you use too?
I
Probably
do
what
not.
Ben,
I
probably
do
what
not.
Ben uses.
I did make the switch to one like that a couple years ago, and it changes your life and a lot less bleeding.
Okay, good, good.
I think that's Paul's goal. Less band-aids on his bald head. It's not a good look having band-aids on it.
No. Or getting out of the shower and you're toweling off and the towel's covered in blood because yeah. And in the replay of this video, someone just joining in and blood-soaked towels. That could be the.
We could title it that. We could actually, I mean, this is I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here, but we could roll out a whole episode about this topic here. And you know, you guys, you and Paul, Ben and Paul, you guys have similar glasses, the same hairstyle. Paul, do you think you could send Ben an orange shirt?
I could do that. We could welcome him to the Orange Club for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so now Paul and I are going to start dressing the same before the meetings and just see if anyone notices.
Yeah.
It is appreciated. All right. Can someone confirm? Let me turn this thing on. Can someone confirm if we are live within the Facebook ecosystem? Do we know that to be true?
Yes, I did see it just before it was.
Josh Blakely.
Josh
Yeah. How we
Blakely.
doing? It is
Josh
live,
Blakely, I
Patrick.
got a call. I got a
What's up,
call
everybody?
for you the other day.
Oh
You
yes,
saw-
I need to respond to your message. Yeah, yeah.
They said, I'm calling for Josh Blakely. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? He's passing out my number with his name. I don't understand what's happening. But I think it's from like TNC. Those guys, one of the white label companies there was reaching out and somehow they had my phone number for you. So that was interesting. But all right, let's talk. So in a little bit, we're gonna go and we're gonna talk to Spencer. Spencer has been in this game for a little while now, and he's been on quite a journey. And that journey has included times where things have gone down and then back up and then down again. And I think we've kind of got things dialed in, but I want to have him share some of the journey because I think a lot of you guys are somewhere on that journey and it can be discouraging. And Spencer, I always try to get people to share the win. Spencer, he's like, hey man, it feels like I'm bragging. And part of this is like, it can be hard. It can be hard to share your wins at times. I went through the same thing, but when we're asking for it and when we're doing it from a place of like to inspire and to show the journey, I think this is the right way to do it in the right place. So Spencer has agreed to go on and share some of this journey with us about what's worked and what he's tried and some of the pivots he's made over the last couple of years to finally get to the spot where he is now. So before we get started with that, Spencer, we're gonna have a lot of time together, but others on the call, who's got some wins to share, who did something cool in their agency in the last week or in their personal life?
I'll jump in here. I've been saving some wins, and in the last couple of months, I've put on about $6,700 worth of recurring revenue. So that's in
Nice.
3 different clients: a plumber, a dentist, and a general contractor. So, what has worked for me is I had somebody. I was sharing, just kind of random heat maps that I was creating. I was putting those on Facebook and LinkedIn and things like that. And I had a friend from high school reach out and said, "Hey, I'm in between jobs. I do sales. I'm interested in what you're doing." And I said, "Okay, well, here's the deal. I'm not going to hire a full-time salesperson because I don't have, a stipend to give them off the bat until they're full commission. So I've done this years ago and it worked out with some salespeople, but what I did is anything that the salesperson brings on the first month, I give them 50% of that. And then every month I go down by 5% until they get to 10. So in the first year, they will make about a third of what they sell if that stays on. So there's a lot of risk for me in those first 6 months, obviously, while that's going down. But it does give them the incentive to go out and sell. So all three of those are from that same guy, and he's starting with his, kind of his personal connections by him, and that gives him some wins and some, data to go out and sell a little bit more. So an idea, if you are not the salesperson or don't like that cold calling, if you find somebody who does, that is working for me. So
Patrick, you're muted.
That's awesome, Ben.
Let's try that again. Sorry. Excellent share. Really appreciate you sharing what's working here. Obviously, sales is something that's going to drive revenue. And if you guys aren't focused on that and you're kind of focused on other things and just hope the revenue shows up at some point, you're going to look back and be like, hey, maybe I should have been focused on sales and revenue generating activities. We went back and forth with different structures. I'm in the process now of hiring a new salesperson. And I'll tell you, for me, I'm not going to be doing like a big recurring, because if they do a great job, then that can really stack up and it can be disproportionate and almost like hurt the business in a way. If they've got, 20 clients that they've landed and they're getting 10% of each one of those, but I'll be looking for, and there's kind of like differences. Is this person like the closer? Is this person going and finding their own stuff? But I'm probably going to, in my agency, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a base plus a commission, and the recurring is probably going to be around that like 1 to 3% of what they bring in. So there's something there for them. And then maybe have a larger commission the first month, right? So it's like, hey, this, and then this ongoing piece is a little bit smaller. So that way it doesn't put so much pressure on our agency as they stack up wins when they just brought in a sale one time, and then our account manager is the person that's like handling it. But we also want to make sure that they're incentivized to close sales that are going to stick around and not kind of like promise the world on things we won't be able to deliver, right? So
Patrick, real quick, I was going to jump in just on mine. Obviously, that 33% sounds crazy, but 66% of nothing is still zero. And my deal with him is you've got to be bringing on at least $2,500 in revenue a month. Like you've got to be like, and at any point in time, if he stops doing that, then his commission goes away on the stuff that he's no longer selling for me at that point. If you can't bring on one client a month at that rate, or two $1,250 clients, then, and this obviously it's a part-time deal for him until he looks at it. The other thing is I was really structuring it much like my insurance agent, right? So he can rep a bunch of different companies, and his commission is 10%. Now, part of that fuels they probably take more than that, because that's like his book of business, right? But like if I have an issue with my home, auto, or business, I am calling him. I'm not calling the next like I don't have an account manager assigned to me. He may get a question answered. So I was thinking of it that way of, I want to make sure that, and that's my expectation with my sales guy. I don't want phone calls. I want these clients to see you as the contact in the company. So they're not bothering me. They're not texting me. They're not calling me. Like,
right.
You're going to be the answer guy for them. And so we'll see. I may report back in 6 months and say, no, these clients are driving me nuts. But yeah.
Yeah. In our agency, we kind of like separate out the account manager and the sales position moving forward. But one of the things is like, do you have something installed that's going to be delivered for cold callers? It's a different thing, right? It's like, I would structure each one of those positions differently, but Ben, fantastic. Thank you for the perspective on this. I want to make sure that we get through the win so that we still have a ton of time to dive into Spencer and what he's kind of done. So other wins along the way here. Who else? Who else has cool stuff to share? I know some of you. There's Alec Newmeyer, Mr. Alec, sheepishly raising his hand. Alec, what do you have?
Hey, so since the last call was on, I launched a niched agency. Um, and I've been trying to spend 50% of my day on sales actions, which has been really challenging. But what's interesting about that, because now I'm running two agencies, which probably isn't the best move, but what's interesting about trying to spend 50% of the day on sales is that it's bringing up the things that take me a lot of time are becoming really obvious, and I want to hire them away. But that idea, 50% came from you, Patrick. So I've got me and my new business partner doing the 555 on Facebook, and then I'm taking the mantle of sales. So I'm trying to connect with 25 people a day. And I'm not even selling, I'm just connecting with people, and sort of people want proposals from me, even though I'm not pitching them. I'm literally just messaging them saying, "Hey, I'm niching down into this service, and I'm trying to fill my feed with people who put out good content like you. So thanks for letting a stranger follow you." And they're like, "Oh, you're a digital marketer? Like, I'd be interested in seeing what you have." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess I could send you a quote. Let's talk."
Yeah. So
that's going well.
Alec, I think just like having conversations and like making the connections are going to lead to this sometimes. Spencer and I talked about this and within Rank Masters, we provided a proposal, and I think that I didn't do a good enough job explaining, like, hey, don't just send people proposals. That's the kind of like last thing to do. I've never closed somebody where they've responded from a proposal that I can remember. It's always been on a call. So I would always be pushing people towards the call, especially somebody like you that's great with people and can make a good impression, and then walk them through the strategy call and have a number ready based on the services that you're going to provide, how much it costs, and what your target profit margin is, and know that. And then I mean that works really well. I think you're going to miss out, and I don't know if
I'm
they're
not
just like
sending
sending
a
you a proposal.
proposals. No. I'm
Okay.
not just sending proposal. I did. I've got some years of enterprise sales. So when they say just give me a quote, they're only going to hire me if I'm the cheapest thing they've ever heard of. So I'm
Right.
not doing that. But it's interesting that that's even the response I'm getting when like my message does not suggest sales at all. I just told them I'm trying to get them to fill my feed so I can learn more about the industry, and then they're like immediately jumping to the sales part. It's nice.
Yeah. So guys, like here's a lesson for you guys that are trying to land sales. It's just like start connecting with people in your niche, right? Give them a little hello greeting message and see where it goes, right? You can start to build these relationships, or you can, not do anything and not have any potential, right? So it's not going to guarantee you a sale just by connecting with people, but having conversations is going to create opportunities for sales. It's going to create momentum. It's going to get you in the game. So I would definitely push that. All right. Awesome. Alec, are you going to be joining us here in a couple weeks? You are in a state of need. There you go.
I wish I could. I've been planning with my customers to do this design show in Charleston for like 6 months. So it just the wrong weekend. I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't bail on them when we've been planning towards it for like 5.5 months now.
Yeah,
So,
understood, man. Yeah.
yeah, I'm missing this one, but I'll be at the next one. Well, maybe I might have newborn twins at the next one, so we'll see how
If
that
you
goes.
guys could schedule around that, that'd be cool.
I will let her know to just suck it in.
Just bring I can help you with the twins.
You
There you go.
babysit?
I got experience with them.
Good.
All right.
I'll call
Any
you.
other wins? Any other wins before we move on here? Not see anything. We're going to dive in. It's good to see some of these faces on here. Mr. Vadim, Janeri, Brian Waddle, Josh Blakely, my buddy Khalil. We got Joe, who loves to hide behind that picture. There's Mr. Khalil, my buddy from my hometown. Got Aiden. I love for you guys to just throw in the chat where you're tuning in from. I see Doug up there in the corner. Sorry, Doug. How's it going, buddy? Awesome. So, guys, I'm just going to share a couple of takeaways too I was in the traffic and conversion summit in this time it was in Las Vegas for the last week. That was kind of why we pushed off the call. So a lot of awesome energy in there. There's so many different companies. It's kind of crazy seeing how, going to these conferences for years and then going to them this year and seeing the popularity of AI software and things that are showing up it's really cool. This one seemed like it was a little bit smaller this year. I did get to see Richard Branson speak. And Richard Branson is kind of like a hero to me. He's a hero to, I think, to a lot of billionaires. They call him, he didn't say this at the show, but I've heard this from a lot of other people. They call him the billionaire that other billionaires want to be, because he lives his life having fun, enjoying things. If you guys haven't been through his biography, it's kind of, I guess it's an autobiography. I think it's fantastic. And studying these people that have had tremendous success, they weren't born that way, right? They were born, in most of the cases, they were born in nobody knew what was going to happen. They weren't born into like a super wealthy family. Richard was actually dyslexic. I think his mom was like a school teacher and his dad was, I can't remember, some other kind of like trades position. Richard shared a lot of stuff, and I just want to share some of the takeaways. That there was one thing that really hit me like a lightning bolt. He talked about how the guy that was asking the question, it was Roland Frazier, asked him the question. He was interviewing him, and he says, how is it that you've been able to grow all these companies? Because he has like 400 companies. A bunch of them are billion-dollar companies, right? But yet, if you follow Richard, he spends his time having fun. He is very involved in philanthropy, does a ton. You can tell where his heart is. And, he started an airline, and they can only afford one airline one plane at the time. And everyone's saying, hey, this is stupid. He wasn't who he is now at that point. Nobody knew him really. And he started this, he gets this first plane, and they're starting to have some success. And they decided they have to differentiate themselves from British Airways. That's going to be their biggest competitor right off the bat. So they have like a bar on the plane and immediate differentiation. One of the things that really stands out for me with Richard Branson is he uses comedy, he uses humor in his branding, and it's very bold. He's not afraid to like put himself out there. He knows that he needs to attract attention, right? As the company started to grow, apparently British Airways, they did a bunch of illegal things, and they ended up losing a big lawsuit to Richard Branson, and he was sharing some of these things. So some of the stuff that they were doing is they hired hackers, and they hacked into their flight registry, and they started calling people that were booked with Virgin Airlines saying, hey, your flight's been canceled, but we can book you on British Airways. And this is just a number of things. Richard Branson won the lawsuit, and now he's going to be releasing a documentary that goes over, I think it's called Dirty Tricks or Dirty Tactics or something. It's going to be coming out, but it goes over all the different things that British Airways did. And what did he do? Well, they were trying to put this big like Ferris wheel thing up in London, and they were having a hard time getting this thing to stand up correctly. So as an example of the boldness and the humor to get the attention to Virgin Airlines, he got a blimp, and he flew the blimp over where this Ferris wheel was trying to go up, and it said British Airways can't get it up, right? So he puts this out, and that made the news. So everyone knew, like Virgin Airlines got a ton of attention. And this is how he's done it throughout his career. He drove a tank through Times Square. He had a soda at one point. It didn't really work out, but he had a soda, and he drove a tank through Times Square, driving over Coke cans, just like crushing them. And I think he was like shooting some of them out of this cannon, right? So they asked him, Roland Frazier asked this question. He says, how is it that you're able to run all these companies and do this? And he says, well, the first thing is I get really clear on what my vision is. And I get very clear on that. And then I hire people that are smarter than me to take over this. And I focus on the entrepreneurial side of things, the visionary side of things, because I'm a serial entrepreneur and I don't want to be in the day-to-day. So that one hit me like a lightning bolt, because we're running these different businesses, and there's no business that I'm in where I'm the best in the world at running an agency. I know there's somebody out there in the world that's better at software, the product development, all these different pieces. There's somebody out there that's better. And what he does is he goes and he finds that person and he figures out how he can get them into the company. Obviously, after you've reached billionaire status, then funding and paying for these people becomes easier. But this is a continuum. Maybe we don't have to find the best in the world. If we can find somebody that's better than us, if we can find somebody that is equivalent to us at running our agency or whatever it is that we're doing, and we could spend our time on higher value stuff. This takes us out of the day-to-day, and immediately our agency is going to have a big boom. And this is what he's done again and again. He has talked about how, like, hey, I'm dyslexic. I'm not going to be the ones that's writing, but he goes and he delegates really well. So it was obvious to me he still is operating. He inside of his head, it's there's amazing thoughts going on here. You can tell there's some brilliance in there. This guy's 72 years old now, and he was stuttering a lot. I think he's kind of on, like, who knows? I don't know if this guy is like banged his head too many times kite surfing and it's caused him to slow down, but it was a lot of this type of thing. But beyond that, and I saw some people leave when maybe that was a part of it. And I heard other people talking about it, but I'll tell you, absolutely brilliant person. And when you have the opportunity to see somebody like this speak, I would absolutely take it, because there was huge takeaways for me. For me, I'm like, when I'm leaving that speech, I was thinking, I've got to find somebody who's better at running my agency than me and put them in that. I got to find somebody who's better at running a software company than me and put them in that position, and just keep removing myself with more talented, smarter people who geek out, who play at what has worked for me on some of these things, so that I can focus on the things that I really enjoy, the vision pieces. So those were some really big takeaways. There's a lot of people from all different industries. You guys, we're in this like very tiny sliver. You go to these big conferences, most people don't know what lead generation is. They don't use that as the business model where they're like building the sites, this kind of idea. They're all over the place. And I think it's great for your perspective to put yourself in these situations and see these different angles. So I thought it was a great event. I think for those of you guys who have been at one of these, maybe the last year or 2 years ago, for me, it felt like it was maybe 40% as big as the one that was there last year. So we had decided not to get a booth and just focus on the partnerships. And I think that was a great decision, because it was a lot smaller in my mind. So, all right. So I just wanted to share some of that. Let's change directions here and let's go over to Mr. Spencer. Spencer, how are you doing?
What's up, guys? I am doing well. Glad to be here today.
Spencer, I appreciate you coming on here. I know that we've kind of like highlighted you at times, but I don't think we've done a deep dive to this extent. And I want to take it back kind of to, I don't want to go through like every childhood memory that you had, but just give us a little of where you came from. And then we'll kind of like move into, when you and I met a few years ago, where you're kind of like stuck. So just give us a little background, Spencer, on what your history is.
Yeah, grew up for the first 14 years of my life in Montana. Moved out to the Pacific Northwest as a junior in high school, and went to college. Let's say about 15 years ago, I started my entrepreneurial journey by owning a insurance agency. Cut my teeth on Facebook ads while owning that agency. Ended up taking a course from a guy that I will just say taught me how to crawl when it comes to the lead gen business. And then a mutual friend of ours, Mr.
Justin Roy.
No, yeah, Justin Roy had seen a post of mine, because this was a period of time, you guys, when I was doing lead gen. I started back in 2019. I thought all heat map software was the same. It was all created equal. And Justin messaged me because I had swiped a photo from somebody else's post and had said, "Hey, dude, I see you're using my buddy's software." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "The photo you posted, that's my buddy Patrick's software." I'm like, "I don't know who Patrick is. I'm not using his software." And he goes, "Let me introduce you." So he introduced me to Patrick. That's when I got surrounded by this amazing group in LeadSnap. And this is when truly, like, my eyes were opened. And I always tell people the person that I learned this business from taught me how to crawl. and Patrick taught me how to run a marathon. Like it's that type of difference with the type of education, the type of training. I mean, the guy that taught me how to do this business would tell you, hey, I know you guys don't really know how to do this type of work, but you don't need like tools. You don't need like Hrefs. That's that costs 50, 75 bucks, $100 a month. Just do this research, drive the car blind, and you'll get to your destination. I see Brian Waddle laughing over there because him and I came from the same path. And then we eventually found Patrick. So I know it sounds like Patrick is the guru, the savior, the king here, but I owe a lot to him because of the journey. So that's the background. I owning my insurance agency, I wasn't super happy sitting at a desk. I really much rather travel. I'd much rather live that laptop lifestyle. And I was stuck at 10K months until about 2020. So from 2019, I had grown my agency to a few $1,000s. The pandemic hits. We're all stuck at home, which was great because we could actually get in touch with these contractors and actually get them on the phone. And was it about March or April? Everything was shut down. And so from March, April to about August is when I had hit that 10K mark. And then I was stuck there for a long time until Patrick and I had gotten on a conversation.
Yeah. So you had kind of gone over the hump that I think a lot of people haven't got to, right? Where like, I think the biggest struggle from what I've seen is between 0 and 10K. It seems like of the people that make it to 10, like a small percentage of people make it to 10K. And of the people that make it to 10K, like, I don't know, maybe 75% of them make it to 25K, right? It's like, you've kind of like gotten over this hump and you've realized the effort. You understand how to focus on sales to some extent, but around that 10K is really, a lot of people stall out there for a while. And it's kind of like the end of the first level in the video game where you're like, oh, okay, now there's this like big boss here and I've got to figure out you're struggling to manage the clients you have while do sales and build out, if you're trying to build out new sites all in the same time. You've got to find your first person. You don't know how to hire, where to get it. It's scary. Can I release control? Do I have the procedures and steps and everything in place so that this person can be effective? Right. So Spencer, I think what really broke you through, if I'm correct, well, correct me if I'm wrong, is like I taught you the prospecting strategy with the heat map, and all of a sudden we had a new way to land clients, right? Is that accurate?
Yeah. So you coined it the Trojan horse method. At the period of time when I started using it, I didn't know that was the name of it. And really, for those that aren't aware of it, it's essentially offering up the gift to somebody in a group, which is a video audit. And really the video audit is not for that particular person. It's for everybody else that's surrounding, that's watching this, and then they want in on it. So we had done some things where we'd offered up like, hey, 5 audits, limited time. These things take time for us to do type of post within the Facebook groups. Obviously, we were doing more than 5 of these things on the backside, and really were able to land some clients as a generalized agency at the time.
Yeah, excellent. So Spencer, so this, I think you jumped from like 10K and then you had your first like over the next maybe 3 or 4 months, you had your first, was it 40K month or 30K month? Where did you reach after that? After we kind of like installed that system?
Yeah, so I mean, we constantly grew. It was fluctuating between 30 to 40K months until the last Rank Masters LeadSnap event here last February is when we figured out there were some issues that Patrick and I hadn't uncovered. Should I dive in there?
Yeah. So we what we discovered, it was in a VIP session, and this is kind of one of the benefits of the events, right? It's kind of hard. It can be hard to unpack things and go multiple levels deep when you're on a Zoom call. a lot of us, when we're in Zoom calls, this is probably my fourth or fifth Zoom call of the day, right? If I didn't have this time dedicated, I may not have the same motivation to ask like the third or fourth or fifth question. But you had bought a ticket to our event. I think that was the Miami event, the first event that we had done, right?
Correct.
And the way we set this up for the VIP, there was a lot of extra pieces for the VIP, but one of the sessions was kind of like it was a breakout session where we got in a circle and we just kind of went, and I led it, and I asked people each questions like, hey, what's the biggest struggle? And then we had the other people in the circle kind of contributing to it. So we got to Spencer, and I think most of the people in the VIP, they kind of seen you on these calls and they knew that you had had some success. And what they didn't know, and I didn't know, is that you hadn't set up a system that had a lot of MR, monthly recurring revenue. You were relying on sales each month. What did you done? What were you doing to hit those months?
Yeah. So, I mean, this kind of sounds silly, but you don't know what you don't know. I was selling individual websites. We were doing basically an a la carte package. So if a company came to me, let's say a landscaper, and they said, hey, we want a new website done, maybe that's 4K. And then they say, well, we want an optimized Google My Business listing. Okay, well, that's 1,500 to optimize. The pressure that I was putting on myself to have to continually sell every month to maintain these 30 to 40K months was tremendous, as well as there wasn't anything that was really baked into being able to have that monthly reoccurring revenue. And when I told the group that, I mean, I wish I could have caught Patrick's face. He was like, oh my, like, how did we not uncover this? Because this is a major issue, Spence. Like, how do you not see this? We need to go to a more standardized, like, even if you're not making as much, but getting them locked into something that's a lower monthly reoccurring package, so you don't have to have that pressure to sell all the time.
Right, absolutely. So it has to stack, right? We close a client and we get paid for them every month after that, right? If you're selling these one-offs, then it's like you've got to be a salesperson every month, right? Well, honestly, the service that you can provide in 1 month to somebody in this space, in the digital marketing space, it's great to build a solid foundation with an optimized GMB and a website and maybe setting up their social media accounts, maybe citations. That's a great foundation. I personally have never seen a site that I've worked on or in my agency where we built it 1 month and then a few months later and years later, it just continues to rank. There is a necessity to do ongoing work. So the nature of this relationship should be ongoing payment, right? That monthly recurring revenue. It's revenue that we can count on, which means that we can scale, right? We can hire against the revenue that we know is coming in. If we're going to say that, hey, our labor for the month should be about 35% of our revenue. Well, if we don't know what our revenue is, how can we predict what our labor is, right? So
Yeah,
you and I.
There's lots of issues with trying to figure out staffing. There's issues with not only did I have to sell them the first month, but after, let's say, for example, that website was done or the optimization was done on the GMB, then I had to come back and try to sell them again on something else. And it's just consistently having to sell, man. It's like, hey, we got your website done. You're happy with it? Oh, great. What about what's next? And it was a bad situation to be in.
Yeah. It's absolutely imperative for you guys to be able to build, if you guys want to build a multi-6-figure, a 7-figure, a multi-7-figure agency, it has to be based on something we can count on, right? And we need to build that into our processes. Our offer needs to be positioned around that. We need to know what our profit margin is on this. So then we can start to stack these things up, and every client that we land becomes more profitable for us on a monthly basis, right? We start to pay attention to what's our churn rate, how often this is happening. If it's happening more than 5 or 7%, that's too much. Really, you like to have it around 3%. That would be a good target. It will happen. There's things that you can't control that are just going to, like I had mentioned, one of our clients, he decided he wanted to be a butcher. I'm not in that. That's not my niche. So he's no longer my client, right? So we had a client who passed away, right? No matter how good we are, even if we do a fantastic job, we lost a client probably like 4 months ago, and we were sending him a ton of leads, but he had this thing where he didn't seem to understand that the leads were coming from us, and we kept proving it to him. And eventually I was like, I'm kind of done dealing with this guy. I've had this conversation 6 times. Like, he's gone, right? So churn will happen. We can expect it. If we don't, it hurts a lot if you don't have more people coming in, right? The goal here is how can we land 3 to 5 clients per month, right? So if we're doing that and if we're losing, like, imagine we have, 30 clients. So maybe we're losing like 1 client a month, but we're adding like 3 to 5 clients a month. Well, that 1 client doesn't hurt. If you've got 3 clients and you lose 1, that hurts. You've just lost a big chunk of your revenue. So this is why it's so important to spend a ton of your time on these revenue generating activities, right? That you guys have all heard me push for probably as long as you've known me. So Spencer, so then everything's good after that, right? We've got it. We've changed our offer. Everything's good. Or what happened?
No, actually it wasn't, because one of the other pieces of the conversation. So Patrick, if you guys have been on these calls for a while, or if this is the first time, get ready for Patrick to be pushing you to niche down. All of us have done, congrats to Alec for figuring out a niche and niching down. I applaud that. The hardest thing for me was trying to figure out what niche, right? Because I had success in HVAC and plumbing and landscaping and decks and fences. Like, I know we all have the tools in our tool belt to be able to help a lot of people. Like Ben shared, he's helping a dentist, he's helping a general contractor, he's helping, you know what I mean? Like, none of this stuff fits together. For me, what had happened was I had some really good success in the spray foam business. They were referrals that came in. I was able to dominate Manhattan and Queens. I know we have a caller on here today. Lincoln, I think, is from Brooklyn. Those are some of the toughest marketplaces in the fucking world, you guys, is NYC. And we were able to dominate there. I had a client in Baton Rouge that we were able to dominate from Baton Rouge all the way almost to New Orleans. And I was like, okay, this is the niche. This is the niche. It's high ticket. I'm going to niche down. So in February, I decided I was going to create a new agency. So I went from plant powered marketing, this generalized agency, to spray foam genius marketing. And let's just say from February until about a few months ago, it was pretty lean. It was pretty lean, you guys. I'm the guy that usually jumps on these phone calls, and I have a decent amount of wins to share. And I can tell you guys, it was like starting over. I trusted the process. I rely a lot on Patrick and Patrick's advice, and he's an amazing coach. And sometimes there's a question there in the back of your head, like, am I doing things right? Is this really what I need to be doing? Because my income is drastically decreased, and I'm not targeting these landscapers and these plumbers and like all these other generalized random niches. I am now a spray foam guy, and I had to keep telling myself I had to remain true to my word, especially when there was, I guess, money to be made in these other niches that I know I could have done, but I had to humbly walk away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not easy. And if any of you guys are familiar with, I know Spencer and I, we've talked about this. Seth Godin has this book called The Dip. And this is what happens all the time is like, whenever we start something that's new, we kind of go down first, right? You're changing things that are kind of working a little bit, but you know that they're going to be capped, right? So for instance, imagine that I'm learning to drive for the first time, but I've been riding my bicycle all this time, and I've got to invest in like learning how to drive. I've got to get a car. I've got to do these different things. And meanwhile, this person is just like riding their bike towards this destination. Imagine they're going from like New York City to LA. And when I start learning to drive, they take off on the bicycle, right? And they're going whatever, 20 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour. And I'm over there trying to find a car and doing all these different things. At some point, we all know what's going to happen. That car is going to zoom by the bike and never see him again, right? And this is kind of like the concept of the dip. First, we go down, and then we come back up. And I was telling Spencer about this when he was going through this and he was struggling, because it can be hard. We have to lay a foundation. I think it is critical. You know, I've think I've probably coached more than 1,000 people at this point for calls like this, one-on-one calls, speaking at events and doing one-on-one sessions with people. And there are few exceptions out there where the generalist agency has reached 7 figures. I've seen it. I've seen it a bunch of times, maybe 10 or 12 times, but I've seen the 7-figure agency where it's a niche specialist, maybe 600 times, right? So I noticed that early. I noticed when I was getting started, when I was learning to crawl through a different program, maybe that guy taught me to kind of get to a light jog. But I kept noticing the most successful people had niche down. And then I started thinking about why that would be useful. And guys, imagine this. Imagine if I said like, hey, I've got a course, and I just put it out. I put it out on my Facebook page. I was like, I got a course. It's $100. Who wants the course? It's a business course. It's a general business course. Like maybe there's some people out there that are like, okay, it looks like Patrick's done okay for himself. Maybe I could get that course. But if I created a course that said, okay, this is a course for digital marketers. Now it's $400. Maybe some of you guys are like, hey, I'm a digital marketer. Maybe this is more for me. And then I created a course that says, hey, this is a course for agencies that want to get to 7 figures, and we're going to use Google My Business, and this course is $2,000. And if that applies to you, you're willing to pay a lot more for it, right? So it's the same thing when you guys are offering your services to your niche. If you serve everyone, you serve no one, right? So you have to kind of like think about this. And what it means is that we become a master at our niche. And we get referrals. We understand the content. We have a assembly line. McDonald's doesn't like make cheeseburgers part of the time. And then they're like, okay, this guy ordered ribs. Let's make ribs now. Like, no, that's not what's on their menu. They've been able to scale because they follow this like pattern of like, this is what we offer. And we're very like, I'm not saying McDonald's has great burgers, but they're good at the systematizing it, right? And they've grown to be, I think, the biggest restaurant in the world, because they're the same everywhere we go. Other than Europe and stuff, they can have like nicer booths and stuff, but it's still kind of the same food, right? So niching down is huge. You're going to get more referrals. You become the go-to expert. So that's part of the dip. You have to lay the foundation. You're investing in things that you're not going to see immediate return from. And I felt Spencer wavering, and I think it was a really important decision, because you kind of were at this fork in the road when we were having these conversations. We were like, oh shit, I'm like not making money now. I'm like, I've lost stuff. I've got to figure out how I'm going to replace it. And I mean, now we're on the other side of it. We're like through the dip and we're coming up, and I know exactly where this is headed. Right. So Spencer, we're going to jump forward and then go back. What did you close this week in your niche?
Yeah.
And
So
monthly recurring revenue.
So just yet Monday and yesterday, an extra 5K a month. And
5K a month. What about last month?
last week,
Last month. Oh, let's go last week. Yeah.
last week was 10K.
So we've added 15K MRR in the last 2 weeks, right? How has it looked? Well, actually, how long ago was it where you kind of started to feel things change, and now we've got the positioning we need? When did that happen?
How long ago did what was the question again?
When did you feel the momentum shift from like being at the bottom of that dip to starting to like pick back up?
Yeah, so it was probably the end of November. So we went from February to November. I would say it was very quiet with sales. It was me constantly just planting the seeds and planting those seeds. I mean, I always kind of go back to like I was a farmer, you know, and I'm planting these seeds, and we don't know when they're going to harvest, you guys. We don't know when the fruits of the labor are going to produce. And, you know, they started to produce here at the end of November. I think we onboarded like 10 clients in December, added like somewhere around an extra, you know, 10 to 12K in December to MMR. And that's when I really felt like things were starting to click. I have to mention there, I mean, I don't know if we're going to get into this, but the pieces that I put together, very difficult to track really what, you know, kind of like where all this is happening, because I feel like a lot of it has to do with this ecosystem that I'm nurturing. But there is a direct correlation, and I was thinking about this. Some of you guys have seen my social content on on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, and there's a direct correlation, you guys, to closing deals with that. And I've had people, as well as the guy's studio that I use, approach me and say, "Hey man, let's figure out a way to get more followers on these platforms." And truly, like, I told him, I was like, I don't care about followers. Like, I don't care about people seeing this content, because when it gets cross-posted to Facebook, what I'm noticing, and I told Patrick this, I had this is when I knew things were really cracking with things, is I had a sales conversation with a gentleman. I befriended him on Facebook. He accepts the Facebook request. He goes on, watches 2 pieces of content, likes them or hearts them or whatever the case is, and buys the next day. It is acting as a bridge to bridge the gap between know, like, and trust. Our friend Chris Moore always talks about that, coach and rank masters. And that is exactly what this is doing. And there is a direct correlation. I know Patrick has encouraged us all to start podcasts and such, but we're doing these short clips, essentially talking about some of it's about what we do with SEO and GMBs and such, but a lot of it's about life experiences.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of psychology that's going into this, right? When we share about who we are and people start to know us, they start to like us, then it's almost like it's coming in as a referral, right? So some of you guys came to our first event, and that was the first time we'd ever met in person. And then we offered this Rank Masters coaching program, and people jumped on it, right? The people that were at the event, they jumped on it because there was all this content that had happened before. They already knew, they already liked, and they already trusted me, right? So this is what you're doing. You're letting people know who you are. Spencer, you're kind of feeling what we have talked about for a long time now, where it's like this authority positioning, right? You're friending on different social media platforms, these people that are spray foam people. You're putting out content, so they're seeing your content. You have results. You've got your, hey, spray foam marketing. This is me, right? Like, all of this stuff is painting a consistent picture. How do you feel like this influences when you get into a sales conversation and you have this type of positioning? Is that, do you feel it, or is that playing a major factor in your ability to close these people and even get into that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I've been on several calls here recently where, number one, a person has said, "Hey, I've seen your content you put out. I like what I'm seeing." I've niching down. I've had the conversation where people are that say to me, "I specifically reached out to you because you know our industry." I've never once had somebody say, "I reached out to you because you know our industry," when I was targeting landscapers and plumbers and HVAC people. Like, no, like, they want to deal with somebody because there is all these terminologies that, if I threw them out there, like closed sell, open sell, all these like types of keyword type of stuff that majority of people don't even know what the hell that is, except for somebody that's in the business. They call these trailers rigs, right? I had no clue what these people were talking about when we're talking about a trailer that's full of all the equipment. They call it a rig. So now I can speak that language, just like Patrick can speak the language with his niche. And hey, how many rigs you guys running? Okay, from my understanding, each rig can probably do about $1 million a year. Is that correct? Oh yeah. We're buying another one. It's, I got one I just bought for $100,000. Like, we're talking big boy money here. So being able to speak the niche, being able to be like submerged in that. So now we're actually starting to get referrals from the groups. That first batch of websites that we sold at the end of November are now starting to go live. I'm encouraging all these people to share that out. The swell. I'm not a surfer, you guys, but I can tell you these waves I've been riding here the last few weeks, I swear to God, man, like, it's a high. It is an absolute high. It has given me a lot more confidence in closing these people. And yeah, and I do want to say, Patrick, you know a lot of people from the Rank Masters group know a lot of my struggles in my personal life. I've done this, you guys. I had in 2023, I had my aunt die of cancer, I had my mom commit suicide, and I had my sister pass away of cancer. My sister passed away actually at the last event. And I want to say that you guys can do anything you want to if you change your mindset. I didn't believe in mindset years ago, and I talk about this a lot. I never grew up around people that had a positive mindset. I never had people that I had people saying, "Oh, you could be anything you want to be," but then I look at them and they're not being what they want to be. You know, they're stuck in a dead-end job. And for me, my goal is to change generational wealth and to change generational trauma. And I'm on that road right now. And you know, yes, money is amazing, but a lot of it is just overcoming things and taking action. And Patrick knows, because him and I are very similar, I will fucking outwork anyone. I guarantee that. And I take action. So a lot of you guys that are sitting there that are questioning, because I know a lot of you, I know a lot of you on this call, you guys question your abilities and you question yourself. Do I have it in me? I used to be like that, but you know what? If you just put your foot in front of the other on a daily basis, because that's sometimes all you can do when life is throwing you a lot of curveballs. Some of the biggest growth, man, that I've had is in the midst of a shitstorm. I mean, if we look back at the last year, 2023 was difficult. I guess the 12 months of 2022, 2023 was difficult. But I feel like I'm on the upward slope now. Or I guess that, just we're closing deals. I got a process in place that I would love to share with people of like how we're actually doing it, and how we're, I guess, building the trust and closing these deals.
Yeah, this is amazing, Spencer. I know I witnessed you go through this stuff, and appreciate you being vulnerable. There's so much power when we kind of just become our authentic selves and tell our true story of what we've been through. You've been through the ringer. I remember when I spoke at Spencer's wedding, and I kept working on my speech leading up to it, and I was like, I knew what you had been through, and you had done it with such a positive outlook. You had been through things that would have broken a lot of people. And I wasn't sure, like, hey, should I put this in the speech? Because there's negativity, but this is also his journey and what he's been through. And I'm proud to have witnessed you like kind of make it through this. I'm a big reader, and I was reading, and something really powerful the other day that was like right around this topic is like, it talks about our programming. And we've all got kind of blueprints for different things. We've got blueprints for how we think about money. They tell this story in this book that this guy was making $800,000 a year, but he was always broke because his blueprint for money was that the money is the root of all evil. And like people that are greedy are the ones that have too much money. So even though he had a job that was earning him a ton of money, he would get rid of it right away because he felt that was what he was trained. That was the programming that he grew up with. So our programming really controls our thoughts, and our thoughts control how we feel, and our feelings control our actions, right? So, okay, maybe that makes instant sense to a lot of you guys, but for those of you guys that have the skills and the tactics, for those of you guys that are a part of Rank Masters that, hey, we've given you guys the same strategies, the same playbooks. It's worked really well for some people. Other people haven't taken the actions. So if you kind of work backwards and you think about, okay, like these are the feelings I have, right? So I don't believe I can do this. Well, that comes from the thoughts, that comes from the programming. We've got to work on that programming. We've got to kind of reestablish those pieces. And this attitude, one of the things that I've noticed from being around and being in different circles with, I spent a lot of money to put myself in groups of people that are high operators, from joining different masterminds that are expensive to get in. I'm not joining them because they're expensive, but when you have a great group of people with amazing talent that's teaching it, then it costs more money. And typically the people that are willing to pay that have reached some level of success. So this could be $30,000 for 6 months of coaching, right? So I'm in multiple coaching programs. And what I've noticed, what is the thing that shows up in common? It's not that everyone in this group is so much smarter. It's their attitude, their mindset, and a lot of them, the most successful people, I've noticed they're relentless. And this is something that you guys can adopt. A lot of you guys refuse to be relentless because you have doubts about, like, hey, I don't want to do this and fail. Like, if I spend all this time doing this and then I don't have success, then I've wasted all my time, or I've wasted my money doing this and it didn't work. Well, that's the recipe for never having what you want, right? If you decide, like, hey, this is what's going to happen, like Spencer decided that he's going to hit 7 figures, and now it's only a matter of time, right? Before, I knew there was like adjustments that had to be made. He wasn't niched down. It was going to be hard, right? The way to get referrals, close, scale, all this stuff was going to be limited. I felt that there was some but the relentless attitude, that piece in there, I have that too. I know that I have that. My wife, when people come up and ask her, like, what is it with Patrick? How is he able to do this? And he's just like, that's her response. He's relentless. He's absolutely relentless. It's just, I won't quit, right? I am training for a marathon, and it was maybe about 3 weeks ago. No, maybe a month ago. I started my run. I was supposed to run 13 miles. About the first mile in, my feet started hurting. Then it started raining, and I've got hours of time left, and I'm drenched, and I'm texting back and forth with my wife, and I'm like, my feet are killing me. I'm soaking wet. I'm 2 miles in, but I'd already decided. So there wasn't a spot where I was like, okay, like, I'll come back and do this tomorrow. It was like, well, this is going to suck, but this is what I've already decided. There was no question. When you guys start to teeter totter and that little guy sitting on your shoulder that's saying, like, hey, is this going to be worth it? You need to tell that guy to shut the hell up and just say, like, I'm coming for it. This is what I've already decided is going to happen. Because when you do that, everything changes. If you have this, if you put yourself around the right people with the right mindset, and you've already decided what's going to happen, and you keep looking for ways to level up, there's only one outcome. It's just a question of when, right? And that's what Spencer has done. He's made that transition. He's already decided. Sometimes people get beat up as a kid, and they come out as kind of like a victim. And the world is never going to be a great place if you make that choice. Like, people have been through very traumatic stuff, way more traumatic, and I have all the empathy in the world for these people. But it's like, I think Rocky says, it's like, life isn't about like how many times you get hit. It's like, when you get up, like, what are you going to do when you get up, right? So you guys have to kind of take this first step, and it can take some bravery and some courage to kind of like step into this unknown world and say, look, there's a part of me that thinks maybe this won't work for me. And I thought the same thing. Like, it's kind of funny looking back on this. It took me a couple times to learn this lesson. I've shared this before. I come from a small town in Ohio, and I got 2 majors. I double majored in accounting and management information systems. And I was working as an accountant. I'm playing poker with my friends on the weekend, and I'm starting to make more money beating up on my friends than I am at my job. And I love it a lot more because I'm just like sitting there playing a game, having fun. And this went on for a year. And I took a trip out to Vegas, and I made about $10,000 in a month in Vegas. And I still didn't believe that, like, hey, this was enough. And then they had online poker started, and I put $50 into online poker, and I was so scared. I'd done really well, but I was like, man, am I just throwing this away, this website? Like, maybe this is going to gobble it up and I won't even ever see this 50. And like, well, a month later I had $10,000 in there. And then I won a seat for the World Series of Poker. And then I finally had the nerve to quit my job. And I said, I'm moving to Vegas. And everyone said, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to do that. You can't quit your job. That's not going to happen. Well, moved out to Vegas, and then we bought 4 houses while we were playing poker for a living, right? So all these people had told me I couldn't do it, and I believed them at the beginning. It took a year, and I finally, and then I doubted myself after they told me. And then I taught, learning to be a software engineer. I thought, well, man, maybe I can't do that. And then I did it. And then I started my own business. And then finally I started to believe that I can do these things. And maybe if some of you guys are in that spot, you haven't had that experience and you don't believe. And I'm telling you, the man who thinks they can and the man that thinks they can't are both right. You have to make that decision. You have to push yourself out there, right? Spencer, a lot of this stuff has changed multiple times. You've been stuck, and we've kind of recalibrated, right? What do you have to say to the people here that are maybe sitting on that edge? They're unsure. You were on that journey that I haven't mentioned. What can you add into this?
Yeah, so I would encourage you guys to, sometimes we just have to get out of our own way. Take the jump. Maybe you don't have a parachute. You're jumping out of the plane and you don't have a parachute. Sometimes the worst place to be is to have a plan B. Let's just say that. I mean, that's the worst place to be. I got the taste of the good life. And then in August, like a lot of us, our lead gens got hit because the reviews won't stick anymore, right? That hit me back another 15K. And one thing I've noticed within my mindset journey over the course of the last 3.5, 4 years, that negative voice of ours that we all have, and some of the most successful people in the world will tell you they still have that voice. So it doesn't go away, you guys, but one thing it does is the more positive pieces that you're feeding, the positive side, that little voice on the positive side, the volume increases. The negative voice turns down a lot. So as you start to become more successful, and the more times that you keep telling yourself, well, I've been here before, or, hey, I know I can do this, you guys, the positive voice will increase. I used to think vision boards were just kind of something that you made and hoped and prayed and dreamed that shit would actually happen, but I never believed in it. I had put a Tesla X on that. I had actually had a situation where a coach of mine had allowed me to drive her Tesla X, and within 11 months, I was able to buy a $100,000 car. And I tell you guys that not to flaunt. I don't spend a lot of money on myself. I don't live a luxurious lifestyle with a whole bunch of crap, or I guess materialistic things. But it's something that I wanted, and I was shocked how quickly I had manifested this. I had taken the picture of me and my coach's Tesla that she had sent over to me. I printed it. I stuck it right up next to my computer, and I looked at that thing every day. And I thought of myself being in that Tesla. And last November, my wife and I on New Year's Eve, I guess last December on New Year's Eve, we picked it up at the dealership, and she took a picture of me, and I was like, holy shit. As quick as life can change, you guys, like the 15K that I took a hit on in August, and guess where my mind was after that happened? Was I thinking about growing my agency? Was I thinking about all the positive stuff I had done? No, my mind was looped back into, shit, I just lost 15K. That sucks. All this stuff about the negative piece of what was happening. But I want to encourage you guys that things can change. You just saw it. You just heard me tell you over the course of the last week and 2 days, I had put that additional 15K a month back into my pocket. And life can change extremely quickly if you just continue to stay positive. A book I want to recommend you guys is David Goggins' first book, Can't Hurt Me. There's something that repeats in my head on a daily, you guys, and that is nobody's coming to save you. Nobody is coming to save you. So those guys that have grown up in traumatic households, maybe you guys just have the negative beliefs that you guys have that are constantly that volume's cranked up more than the positive, nobody is coming to save you. It is your job to get the fuck out of the way and go and do this. And really, if it is something you guys want to do, figure out the tools to get there. Because once you ride that positive wave, things are really good. And you know, and if you get some coaches in your court as well, because that is one thing that's helped me. Obviously, through the Rank Masters program, we have amazing coaches, but I also have some coaches outside that group as well. And Patrick has told you guys, as well as I am, like, the most successful people in the world have coaches. Dan Martell has a relationship coach. He has like I think it's like a child, a kid's coach.
Parenting coach. Yeah.
Parenting coach. He has a coach for everything, you guys. And that is an ultimate hack if you think about it. If somebody's dedicated their lives for 10, 20, 30 years on and became an expert in the field, why not pay them? Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel? So, that's why when I met Patrick and Patrick offered the coaching program, of course I jumped at it, because here's a guy that's paved the way. Like, he knows how to get to a 7-figure agency and how to run a software company and amongst all the other challenges he has.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that. I mean, I've got my own coaches, right? I'm paying for, I don't know, 2 or 3 coaches right now. I've got a mental coach that I'm starting to work with, a performance coach to help me out. I didn't have a lot of trauma to work through. Spencer, I know your story. I know your story, like, very, very challenging things to overcome, and like probably so many of you guys on that call. And I thought that for a long time, I mistakenly thought that, well, like I that's not going to really help me so much but it's been tremendous, right? They unlocking different limiting beliefs that I had inside of my psyche, right? So, guys, we've got our event coming up. Spencer, I know a big unlock for you was at our first event, and then again at our second event. If this is resonating with you guys, part of this means you guys have to take the first step. Like, we can organize this and we can care and put it together, all the information, and try to bring in the best people that we can. And but if you guys don't take the first step, and the people that are in the Rank Masters, some of them have taken a ton of action like Spencer and seen tremendous results. Other people, I think they're like somewhere along that stream we were talking about, where the programming creates your thoughts create your feelings create your actions, right? Somewhere along that stream, things break down and you end up deciding that you don't need to take the actions, and you kind of stay in the box that, like, some of us dream for more, some of us dream for bigger things. For me, I wanted to travel the world. That was one of the things. I'm like, hey, this is my life. And, like, why not me? Why can't I be the one that lives the life that, like, well, it took me hiring coaches. It took me, like, putting myself out there and putting in the effort, not knowing if it was going to pay off, right? We built LeadSnap for the software. We built LeadSnap for 3 years, where I was taking tons of money from my agency and putting it into the software. There was no promise that was going to pay off for us. Honestly, when we started, we weren't even trying to have it be a commercial product. This was just something internal. We thought it would help us internally. And then we started investing more and more, and have continued to do that with no guarantee. But this is, fortune favors the bold. You've got to take that first step. We can't reach in there and pull you into success. You have to make that decision. So I wanted to bring Spencer on here. I wanted to help inspire. I know there's a lot of people that are kind of stuck with their feet in the mud and not sure what direction to go forward. So, going into these events, it's kind of hard to explain. I've been to tons of events, and obviously I'll be biased for the one that we're kind of behind, but this is not something in like a stuffy hotel. It's more of like this community vibe. And, we worked really hard to create this amazing feeling inside there of people helping each other. We're going to bring the best that we can to our event. We've got amazing speakers. We got one of the guys who's running one of the biggest masterminds for home service providers in the United States, right, in the world, I think. Just tons of people. This whole event is about trying to land new clients, prospecting strategies. no matter who we bring for an event, the event is only it's 3 or 4 days long, right? So what matters is the relationships after the event. That's what helped me. You know, just like Spencer and I have a relationship. Actually, the guy that introduced us, that was my relationship with him when we were coming up together. This guy, Justin Roy, and a few other people. Like when we were getting started, at one point I was at $0 a month. And after 2 years, it took me 2 years to get to $4,000 a month. And I was like, man, all these guys are doing, 25, 50K a month. Like why are they so much better than me? Like what is it? I didn't know. It was at an event that I realized that they had just narrowed what they were doing and they repeated it. And I created some friendships with some people at that event. And that carried me forth afterwards, where we had the conversations like, hey, I'm stuck, man. I can't get this GMB to rank. What are you doing that's working? Or I can't get this one verified. What strategies do you have? Like, where are you getting your backlinks from? When you spend time with someone in person, they're much more willing to share what's really working for them. And they don't view you as this like flat person from the internet that shows up with the same face on Zoom once a week, right? This is a real person. You know their stories. You break bread, have a couple drinks, laugh, hang out in our amazing lazy river, hot tub, pool, have food together. Like something changes with that relationship where they want to help you. They start viewing you as a friend, as a part of this community, and they want to lift you up. So if you guys are out there and you're on the fence and you're thinking about joining, like it is what it appears to be. We'd love to have you guys, but like I said, I can't force you to go. Right. I think, I don't know if Mr. Khalil, are you still on here, brother? He dip out. I know he's,
There he is.
Khalil and I, we kind of had a special, this is not normally how people come into this world for me. So Khalil's sister works for my mom, and I went to get my mom said, hey, I want you to go talk to this guy, my employee's brother. And I was like, I think Khalil, was this Thanksgiving? I think it was Thanksgiving, right?
July 4th, I believe, wasn't it?
July 4th. That's what
July
it was.
4th,
July
yeah.
4th. Yeah. Sorry. My apologies. I was like trying to balance. I wasn't there for business. I was there to get away from business. I was there I want to have fun with my friends. I got all my high school buddies, my college friends are all in the same town. We're celebrating the nation's birthday. And we decided, let's go sit in this conference room and let's talk about business. And Khalil was asking me these different questions. And I know, like, you're like, who is this guy that I've heard about? And I'm kind of like telling you this, and I tell you about our event, and you weren't sure. Like you weren't sure when we first started talking about it. And then you decided to take a plunge, right? You decided to go down and do this. And Khalil, other than me, you didn't know anyone else at that event, right?
Nope, nobody.
Was that scary walking in there with all these strangers, and that you weren't even really very well? You had been through, I think, some other courses, right? Some other like marketing SEO courses, right? How did that go?
It didn't go as well. I mean, it wasn't good. There wasn't really anybody to talk with, meeting people that do the same thing and actually seeing that it's, it works, and the questions you have, like they get answered by like live people. It's different. Like these courses that I took, they would just give you, like a list of things to do, and nobody's there to ask, or
Right.
there would be like a support when you like text them and then wait for a day for them to reply.
Yeah, absolutely. Khalil, was it scary to kind of make that decision to go down to Florida and hang out with a bunch of strangers?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Why did you decide to do it? What was it that like, hey, I'm gonna take a chance here?
Well, I wanted I wanted to do what I actually like, and I've been researching marketing for before I met you for like a couple of years, and then when I met you, and it was it was pretty scary, but at the same time I wanted to take that first step, and actually get into it. But after meeting you and talking with you, and you explained, told me everything step by step, and I was like, yeah, it sounds like something that I need to go and do
Awesome.
and see,
Awesome.
basically, yeah.
Yeah. And how would you describe that, kind of looking back on that weekend of us hanging out together in Florida at that event? How was that for you? Like, what did you learn there?
The first day was crazy, meeting with people and talking to them, people that I saw on the internet before I came there. It was it's like talking to everyone. It was like, at first it was like, what are they talking about? But over time, like the couple of days passed, and the more I got to know people, everyone, guessing in this group, everybody's like really friendly and helping. And yeah, I mean, it was good.
Awesome. I know, so Khalil he had no experience really in this industry. He hadn't really built his first site. You had been driving a truck, like a semi truck around the United States, right?
Right, for 6 years. So
6 years
8 years,
doing
yeah.
8 years
Yeah.
doing that. And I know that's like kind of part of what your family does to some extent, right? This has been kind of passed down through generations, and now you've got you. We didn't go from just quitting the job and then running our own business. You kind of took this intermediate step into marketing and doing the SEO for this company. So now you've kind of got like this full-time job doing this stuff while you're also, so you're getting paid to learn, but you're also kind of like putting together and building out your business on the side when you can like fit this in, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I actually, I'm in the process of doing the first deal. So this trucking business that I work for, there's a company that I kind of made a deal with. There's like 100 trucks, and they are willing to work with this company that I'm working with. So I'm in the process of doing that deal, and hopefully, it works.
Yeah, this is fantastic, Khalil. It's so cool to see how things can change, and we've seen this a number of times, right? We've seen this where I think Alfredo Sauce, right? He was driving a truck for years, and then now he's like spending more time at home. He's got like kind of like his time back to spend with his family. So it's amazing to see this, Khalil. Do you feel like that attending this event, for me, kind of from the outside, and I'm making an assumption here, it kind of feels like not really sure, pivoted, now we've got direction, and you can kind of see the future. How did that event play a factor in this, if it did at all?
It definitely changed my direction. My mindset and everything, it changed drastically. And now I see everything as like, it's possible to do. You know what I mean? Like, back then the circle that I have, it's all like you said, it was all like trucking business, the families, relatives, everybody in the trucking industry. So there wasn't really anybody to talk with that had the same mindset or same industry. Now it changed my mindset, significantly. Made like what do they say, like a 360 turn,
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. I've seen it. I kind of saw this with probably like 5 or 6 people that were at the event that hadn't been at one of our events before. The way that they came in, where they were kind of like unsure and shaky, and then kind of like leaving with this like, it didn't even look like the same person to me. Just looking at him, and Khalil, obviously you and I have a friendship and a relationship, but I think you have other people now that you met at that event that you've continued to interact with. Is that true?
Yep, that's true.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you. I know that like Khalil is not one who loves to be in front of the camera, and I put him on the spot. We didn't have this planned at all. And it's great to see too. I can feel you like kind of getting more comfortable with this and sharing your story. But don't be fooled by Khalil's kind of like kind and gentle manner. He's actually like an MMA fighter. So don't make any false assumptions about this guy, Khalil. Super excited to hang out with you here in a few weeks. And I want to jump on a call with you and talk about a couple of things. I know we were trying to connect last week and I was traveling a bit, but we'll pick that back up. But thank you for coming on here and sharing some of this stuff. I like to have people from all these different phases where Spencer, maybe a few years down the road from where you are, you getting started and kind of like how it can impact all of this. So thank you so much for jumping on here, Khalil. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So I know we're at about an hour and 20 minutes right now. We typically try to target these on about an hour. So I want to wrap this thing up. I'm going to go back to Spencer for a minute. I know Spencer, we kind of went off in this other direction, but Spencer, do you have any final thing that you want to share? And you guys, if you can throw in the chat, throw it in for Khalil, throw it in for Spencer. Spencer took his time here. Obviously he's got a lot of opportunities. He's got deals coming in here. But he took his time and he wanted to give back, right? He wanted to share with what has changed for him. Spencer, are you still with me?
Yes, sir.
Spencer, let's wrap this up here in a second. I just want to see, I want to put some numbers on this so people can kind of see. So I think you, last February, when we were talking, you had 40K months, right? But those were unpredictable because we didn't have the MRR. We had a different business model where we were just kind of like selling one-offs and then just trying to have enough sales every month, right? And it was going to be hard when it's to ever get beyond 40K a month with that type of business model where it's like we have to sell the same amount every month. Nothing is stacking from the previous month, right? So then you went from 40K and you had mentioned that you had lost 15K in August. So does that mean you were at 25K or were you below that?
It's probably below that because those 30 to 40K months, like they're with the legions piece of that as well, it was very unpredictable. Currently, we really don't have any legions rented. So those are kind of sitting on the back burner and we're really just stacking that, those residual incomes are coming from actual clients now. Patrick and I talked yesterday about the pivot with the legions for those that have the experience in that business is as you start to land, let's say, for example, you land a client in Chicago and you're starting to build their business in Chicago, start building some legions because now you have somebody that you can rent those legions to because you have a relationship. And so those legions are not going to be doing the heavy lifting like they used to be. And as long as you keep your client happy, they're and you've proven to them that you've been able to help their business, more than likely they'll be able to purchase those leads from the lead gen. So, yes, I probably got lower, down to, 20 to 25K, from that 30 to 40K months. I can tell you it was lean. It was really lean. And the lifestyle.
You still had the same employees.
Same
right?
employees. Yeah. I mean,
you had the same cost structure with a lot less revenue.
Correct. And
you still have to pay for bills at your house and all this other stuff too, right?
Of course. Yeah. And that, the Tesla payment, Tesla wants their money every month as well now, so for me, yeah, I had two options, you guys, like we all have. I could sit there and feel bad for myself and be the victim and be like, this fucking sucks. Or how do we get out of it? Let's put our foot to the gas. Let's focus on that positive piece and let's push. So Paul's asking if I own my employees or I outsource. I have a team of 20 plus people in Pakistan. They are my people. They are my family. I was over there actually after our first event in February that Patrick hosted in Miami. I flew out to Pakistan for almost 2 weeks, and really, it's working out great. The one thing that I have realized is there's always problems. You're always going to have problems. It doesn't matter if it's your personal life or your business life. what I've have realized is that I can overcome any of those problems. How do I solve them? I become really good at solving problems. And as you grow, Patrick and I were talking this past weekend, it's just a different problem, right? And how do you solve it? How do you look at that problem? And how do you fix it so that it doesn't happen again? How do you fix your processes? And the processes within this business, as you guys know, your SOPs are consistently changing because of the updates that we don't control, with Google and such. So yeah, I would just encourage you guys to really do your best to stay positive, work on your mindset, read books, start doing some of these things that Patrick talks about, which, like creating a niche specific group on Facebook. I'm not even really trying to grow this group. And it's only been up for, I don't know, probably 4 months. And we have like 600 members in this group. We are consistent. I have my employee consistently doing proof post every day, every freaking day. And I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Josh Blakely or Alec Newmeyer, but somebody reached out and he was like, hey, do those posts actually work? And I will tell you, over the course of all the years that I've been on doing this type of work, there is a shit ton of lurkers, you guys. People are lurking. Since we've been on this call, a guy that used to work with our friend Jack Romer had brought marketing in-house. From my understanding, I had a connection with him, chatted through Messenger briefly. I've noticed that he liked today's post and he messaged me and he said, how's your marketing work? Right? Those are those people that are lurking. This guy's never once liked a post of mine, nor have we ever had a conversation about me marketing for him. I've connected with him. I've said, hey, how's business been? Hey, blah, 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 just small talk. And now he's hitting me up in my inbox. So consistency, you guys, is definitely one of those things, even if it's not reaping the rewards. Do the things that you guys know. It's the example of the bodybuilder, right? So one dude, the dude doesn't go to the gym and lift weights once and he's jacked and he's competing in bodybuilding competitions. It's doing the reps. Do the reps, do the reps, do the reps, and eventually it'll pay off. And you'll be sitting in a position where you're better financially than you were, months or years ago.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's that persistent effort over time, right? No matter what it is in life, compound interest is what wins, right? Whether that's building a relationship, learning, building our business, getting in better shape. It's all from that effort again and again and again, and just constantly showing up. That's it. It works in every part of life, right? So 100% agree. Spencer, I want to give these guys, if like, hey, we haven't pre agreed to this. So with our numbers, we went down to 20. We've closed 15 grand. Was it 15 grand in the last 2 weeks, essentially?
Yeah.
Where are we sitting now?
I'd have to dive in, but I'm guessing I'm back up to that 40K mark.
40K.
And the difference of that 40K, I want to point out, is it's going to be a lot more consistent. Before I hit that 40K mark, and I had to sit there and sell another website or another couple websites, and I had to sell some optimizations, and I had to continually keep selling. And that pressure and that stress that I was putting on myself is stress that none of us need. Now I have consistent customers, consistent clients that are going to be paying me anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 a month. And they're going to be paying me consistently as long as I provide results and I bring results to them and I keep them informed on what we're doing, and that communication piece that I'm making sure that my team is putting out there. I realized I was expecting too much of one of my American employees with the customer service piece, and so I am now looking at bringing on an account manager that is going to be solely, that's all he's going to do is be communicating with my clients on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and depending on what stage of the sales process they're in. And Patrick talks to us about those people that are unhappy, typically are unhappy because they think that you've taken their money and you haven't done anything with it. And so if you can consistently say, hey, this week we started building out your website, we did keyword research, we're doing your content creation right now, and you're updating them, more than likely they're gonna stay with you. So those are issues that we're working on with inside the agency. But it's consistency. It's when we had a huge influx of clients come in. And anytime you guys have something like that happen, yes, it's great, right? It's great. The money that's coming in is absolutely amazing, but the wheels on the bus are going to fall off. They just are. And you're going to be exposed by the of something that you can't see until it happens. And how do you overcome that? Right. So I knew on Monday, after I had kind of a down weekend, I had a situation with a client leaving us, in my opinion, for no good reason. But I always look back at what we could have done better to improve this situation. Patrick and I jumped on a phone call. That is the value of having a coach that's been here. What do you got to do to fix this so it doesn't happen? Monday, I had a very long work week, work day. I was on the computer fixing our processes and improving the contract, improving things so that this doesn't happen. And then as we onboard more people, we won't be finding ourselves in that same situation, because that the saying of the definition of insanity is doing things twice or more than once and expecting different results. And I know I'm not insane, so I'm going to make sure I fix that so I can't go, oh crap, again. Right. So we, as business owners and agency owners, we need to make sure that we are consistently shining a mirror back in our face, essentially, and seeing what's broken and how we can improve.
Love it, man. Excellent advice. And it's so refreshing to have somebody here that is so willing to just kind of like be vulnerable and show the challenges that you've had. This is what people can really, because they're feeling that somewhere along their journey. I've got to wrap this up. I'm late for a call. I've got to jump on with another person. So Spencer, everybody, appreciate you guys. If any of you guys are interested in joining us and starting this journey or accelerating your journey, we still have some spots open for our Mansion Mastermind. It's Orlando, February 1st through 4th. If you go to mansionmasterminds.com, so that's plural, mansionmasterminds.com, you can find out more information about it. It's going to be an absolutely amazing time with a wonderful community, so many cool people, awesome speakers coming in there, and we'll get to hang out at probably the coolest house you've ever seen. Lazy River, bowling alley, basketball court inside the house, right? Everything is catered. We've got the bartenders. It's going to be an awesome time. I hope that you guys can come there and be a part of our journey. So, all right, you guys have an amazing week. Create some wins between now and next Wednesday, and we'll talk soon. Adios.